if you guys have been thinking about using an electric
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Welcome to the big reveal. Hello, the arty word nerd from Edinburgh. Brilliant. And we've got some Americans here as well. Olga and Kelly and Elsa from France. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're really going to enjoy this. I'm sure you will. Welcome to the big reveal. I called it that because one of my absolute favourite things about hand printmaking is the reveal, which is basically where you're peeling your paper away from your surface, whether it's a printing plate or just a piece of plastic, which is what I tend to use, or a gel plate, and you peel it away, and what have you revealed? So it's a really nice moment. So that's why I called it that. We've got more people coming in. Brilliant. Got Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Another Edinburghian. I'm sure there's a proper word for that, but somebody from Edinburgh. And hi, Christine. Two Christines. With the one in Scotland, one in the US. Hi, Madeline. Hello. There's lots of names that I recognise, if not faces, coming up in the chat. So that's really good to see. Hello, everybody. Okay. So I think probably quite a few of you know who I am already, but if you don't, I'm Ruth. I'm a printmaker, tend to be mostly hand printmaking, but I do a bit of press printmaking as well. I'm an artist, I'm a teacher. So I have been hand printing since I graduated in 2001, so quite a long time ago. I did an illustration degree, and basically I fell in love with printmaking. I didn't want to join a print studio. I didn't want to spend the money, but I also didn't want to be told what to do, really. So I started printing in my bedsit, which is where I was living at the time, like in a shared house. And I really love it. And I've got bigger, I've got bolder. I do it a lot more now. I teach it. So I've been teaching face to face and online for quite a while now. So it's quite a different mindset to painting. So the whole thing is you've got to kind of wait and see what mark you've made on your paper, and you can't control it completely, which is, of course, is the joy of it. If any of you have done printing before, that is kind of the joy. Let's see who else we've got coming on. We've got lots and lots of people coming in. Brilliant. Okay. Oh, hello from Norway. I think you're the only Norwegian here so far. I could be wrong. Quite a few Scots here. Hello from Paisley. We've got... so I was just explaining that I have done, printmaking hand printmaking for a long time now. It's going to be hand printmaking that I'm doing today. So no press, no jelly plate. Some of you will have done jelly plate printing before, and it is quite similar. But I find the way I do it, which is layering the colours up on the paper rather than on the jelly plate or plate, I find it a bit more flexible. I find it a bit easier, a bit more forgiving. So that's the way I do it. And it also means you don't have to buy a jelly plate either. So you can use these techniques to either to sort of just make collage papers or put into mixed media work or whatever you want to do with it. But you can also, use it as an end in itself, just to make a really nice print. And I do tend to do landscapes. That's my thing. It's what inspires me anyway. And I do find that it kind of works quite well for this because this technique is really painterly, it's really expressive. You can't control it really, really well, but you can get real gesture and expression in there, which is great. And I feel like the subject of landscape is quite forgiving. As long as you've got a horizon line in there, you can probably pretty much figure out what it's supposed to be. And within that, you can be really expressive and do some really nice gestural work. So that's partly why I like to do landscape. So I'm on a bit of a mission today to show you how simple it can be to start printmaking if you've never done it before. I'm on a bit of a mission to show you about hand printmaking. And also, I have to say, there's an ulterior motive, as you might have guessed, that there is going to be a flash sale of my video course, Landscape Impressions. So normally it's £95. There is a link in the chat, at the top of the chat. Actually, I'll see if I can pin these. Let's see if I can pin them. Yeah, I think I can do that. So I've got a link at the top of the chat, and there's a link to tell you all about Landscape Impressions, the course, and there's also a link to buy it for the £67 price, which is only going to be there for 3 days. So take a look at those. Let me just see if I can pin that one. Oh, I can only pin one. Okay. In which case I'm going to... Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, so I've pinned the link to the discount at the top of the chat, if you want to find that one. But Landscape Impressions is, I mean, it's kind of like a slower, more detailed, more step-by-step version of what I'm going to be doing today. So I can't tell you everything today. I can't show you everything today. But Landscape Impressions it takes you from sort of setting up your print studio, everything that you're going to need. It takes you through sort of first prints and mark making and just how to hand print in general. And then it also takes you through sort of being quite intentional. So planning a print, transferring that, how you would actually make an intentional planned print, which is sort of what I'm going to do today. I say planned, it's like this baggy plan. It's my infamous baggy plans. So it doesn't, you can still go with the serendipitous as well. And then there's also chapters on improvising, really, and just using some of the papers that you've probably made along the way to make landscapes as well. Collage, putting together landscapes, maybe more abstract, semi-abstract landscapes with collage. And also just how to present your work. So if you've made some finished pieces of art, which I hope you would, then how to present those, how to float mount them, frame them, and make them look really good. So there's quite a lot in there. So for £67, if I do say it myself, it's quite a good price. I will not be putting it on sale again soon. So just to say you've been warned. It certainly won't be on sale next year. So this is probably your only chance, if you've been thinking about it, to grab it now at the good price. Who have we got in there? We've got lots of people coming in. Hello. More from people from Canada and Scotland. Wiltshire. Jenny, you're near me. That's good. I've got a few people near me. That's good. Okay. What else have I got to tell you? Let me just check my little thing. So I've told you about Landscape Impressions. So yeah, just to keep if you've registered for this live stream rather than just coming upon it, which I hope you have, you're going to get an email with all the links in anyway, and the discount link as well. So just keep an eye on your inbox. I will get that out to you as soon as I can. So what I'm going to do, I am going to make an expressive landscape. I'm going to start with photos and my baggy plan, and I'll show you those. I'm going to layer up several colours and different types of marks, wet on wet. So I'm not going to let anything dry because I'm using oil-based ink and paint. So hopefully this is going to be fine, but it gets a little bit more uncontrollable as we go along. So I'm sure it'll be okay. So if you want to, you can print alongside me. If you want to use this as a really good excuse to just do some mono printing in your studio, please do. That's absolutely fine. But you can also just watch as well. It's just me, so you can ask questions in the chat. I will keep an eye on the chat, but if I miss something, maybe just ask it again, or say, please answer my question a few questions up, because I'm going to sort of be printing and looking at the chat at the same time. So, bear with me a mo. Actually, I'll show you, first of all, I'll just show you, hopefully this is going to come up okay for you, the photograph that I'm basing this on. So I'm going to click on that one. So this was taken in Wales. I went on holiday in the summer, caught this absolutely stunning sunset at the beach. This is North Wales. And I thought straight away, this is going to be great for a monoprint. Now, what you will realise is that hopefully you'll realise, we cannot be really, really realistic when we're doing this. We are constrained, and I love constraints personally. So this is going to be really simplified, slightly abstracted down to how many colours have I got? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, sort of 4 colours and a few little focus points that I'm going to put on as well in a couple of different colours. So you can see that I'm going to have to simplify quite a lot. But equally within that, hopefully I'm going to be able to do some really nice mark making as well. So it won't look exactly like this, but it is this is my inspiration. This is the kickstart that I need. And the colours will probably stay as well as I can mix them. So that's what I'm basing it on. And then I'm also, I don't know if I probably show you this here. This is my baggy plan. People laugh at me for my baggy plan. Just checking that you can see this. Hopefully you can. So it's really, really simple. This is my composition sketch, right? That's how simple it is. I've just done this with a sort of gel pen biro. But that's because I just want to be really, really simple about it. I need to bring it down to the composition. I need to bring it down to the tones, the tonal values, and the colours, and that's pretty much it. Now, I'm not sure if you're seeing this back to front. You might be. It's a little bit difficult for me to check that. Yeah, it's back to front, but I can read it to you. And it reads, this is my plan. Light sky blue overall with marks, light pink overall, roller marks, grey clouds, mask out the reflection, dark beach, and then I'm going to add a blue horizon, a sun stamp shape, and hopefully just a little bit of a sort of painterly gesture of orange. And that's going to be my last couple of things to add. So that's how simple, basically, my plan is. And hopefully within that, I'm going to be able to sort of go with the serendipitous, go with the things that go wrong probably, because they probably will, things that go right or more than I expected. So that's how I sort of start things. I've got a photo, I've got a composition, and I've got a little plan as well. So Cheryl's just asking, she has to leave now, but can you see it later on YouTube? I'm actually going to put it as unlisted and just send the link to the people that have registered for this. If you haven't registered, you can actually still register, and you'll get the email. So yes, you'll get the link. It will be available to watch, but not to everybody, just to the special people that registered for this. Okay, right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hopefully successfully swap my cameras over and start printing. And like I say, do just ask questions in the chat if you want to. Right, great. So this is my phone view. So I'm just going to show you what I have to do this. And it's not much, actually. Now, this is a placemat. It's a shiny placemat. It's cheap, pretty cheap. It's cork on the back. But this is perfect for a surface to print on, to roll your ink out onto. Other things that I very often use is just plastic, plain plastic, like, Perspex. What else do I use? You can use those sort of glass chopping boards, those strong glass chopping boards that you can get, placemats, all sorts of things. You can use quite thin plastic as well if you want to. So anything that's smooth and flat, that's the key really. I've got a couple of rollers here. So one is just like quite a budget one by SD, but I love these, they're brilliant. And I actually quite like leaving roller marks in my ink. So even though it's quite a small one, I will probably use that quite a lot. This is my slightly more expensive one. It's called a Japanese rubber roller. I've used it a lot, which is why it's a bit of a funny colour. They usually come red. Yeah, just really sturdy, nice, obviously quite a bit wider. But those are my two rollers that I have here ready to go. I've got some spatulas that I just make out of thick card. Now, I also have some pre-mixed colours here. So these are oil paints. Now I love to use oil paints, and I know some of you are probably going, oh my God, I've never used oil paints. I don't want to use oil paints. I don't like all that. It's all toxic. That's fine. Take a deep breath. You don't have to at all. You could use any kind of printmaking inks, really, to be honest. You could use relief inks, block printing inks, sometimes they're called lino printing inks. You can use anything like that. You could even at a push use some sort of thinned down etching inks and things like that as well. I like oil paints because the colours, I mean, these colours are gorgeous. They're really schmoogey and love them. Really subtle. So that's partly why I use them, but also because I'm not using a printing plate, so they don't have to stick to anything particularly. All they have to stick to is this, this quite shiny surface. So that's fine. Already managed to make a mess. That's helpful. This is quite messy. This is your forewarning now, okay? But if you like a mess, then you're fine. So what have I got? I've got this, as per my plan, my baggy plan, I've got a sort of sky blue, a soft pinky yellowy colour. This is a sort of dark, quite a dark purpley colour for my darks. This is, you can't really tell this yet, but when it prints, it will. In fact, I'll show you. This is a little trick to do. When you've got really dark colours like this and you can't tell what they are, just take a bit and put some on some bright white card or paper, and you'll see the actual colour it'll print. So that's going to print quite a sort of bright blue. And this one I'm hoping should be quite a sort of dark, yeah, it's almost black, that actually, it's like a bluey black. So that's going to be my beach colour, that's going to be my horizon colour. Now I started off, I mixed all these colours, I started off with only 4 colours actually. So let me just quickly show you. So I've got a sort of scarlet colour here. I've got a Prussian blue, an French ultramarine, and a lemon yellow, and a white as well. So don't really have to write all that down particularly, but those are my go-to colours, and I mix pretty much everything with those. So as long as you've got those primaries, generally you're okay. Purples can be a little bit difficult with that, but you know, still doable. They're not particularly bright, but you can do them. And you can, of course, do this just with black and white. Just do it tonally. Just mark making, which, you know, tones and marks, and you can get beautiful effects just with that. So if you've only got black and white, that's absolutely fine too. So Anne is asking, question, what about using acrylics? I don't tend to. Now, I know the Jelly Plate gang do like to use acrylics, and that's what you tend to use with that. With this, I just find that they dry a bit too quickly. You could use those open acrylics, you know, the ones that don't dry very quickly, or just add a retardant so they don't dry too quickly. And that might work. And if you're going to do that, I would say use the thicker ones, the more viscous ones, rather than the inks or the thin ones. So it is possible. The other thing I find about them, I just don't like the colours quite as much. But, you know, maybe that's just me. I might be prejudiced. But yeah, the main thing is just either use the open ones or add retardant, because otherwise it will dry too quickly for you to do anything. Liesl or Leal, not sure how to register. I'm hoping this will do. Yes, it will. Basically, you've got pinned at the top is the link for your discount. So because you're here, you can click on that now. And if you go to my website, ruthander.co.uk, you can actually still register, and you'll get all the emails sent to you as well. So that's absolutely fine. It's on the front home page. You can just click on there. Okay. Oh, yes. Yep, somebody said on the homepage of the website, big red graphic, that's the one. Yeah. I've actually changed it now, so it's not registration for this live stream because it's actually happening, but it's registration just for the replay and to get the link, the discount link, if that's what you would like. Okay, right, let's get going. One thing I haven't talked about is paper. So today I'm going to use some lovely soft Japanese paper. Bit difficult for you to see, again, I know, with the light in here and the camera, but this is lovely soft Japanese paper. There's a few reasons I'm going for this. It's thin, so it's going to pick up all my marks that I make. It's soft and forgiving, so hopefully it's going to soften everything, which is really nice. The other thing is it's good for you guys to see. So I often use tissue paper and things like that, but it's quite difficult for you to see with the camera. So that's why hopefully this is going to, you're going to be able to see the marks a little bit more easily on this. But you can use, again, you can use tissue paper, you could use copy paper, you can use anything fairly thin, I would say. I tend to say under 30 GSM, but I mean, I have had people that use thicker paper and it works just fine as well. So, but today I'm going to go for this, and it's got lovely ripped deckled edge as well, which I'm always a big fan of. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside for a moment. And I'm going to start with my first colour. Okay, so this is my sky blue. Just see if I can get that right in the way. Yeah, okay. So what I tend to do is I do each colour separately on my surface, take a print, and then do the next colour, which I know is slightly different for you jelly platers, because you will probably put one colour on, let it dry, another colour on, let it dry, and then take a print that way. But I prefer it this way. I find it a bit more flexible. I just find it more flexible, more forgiving as well. Okay. And these first few layers is actually quite fun because you're probably going to cover up quite a lot of them. So you can just doesn't have to be perfect. You can make marks in them any which way you like. So I'm going to put this blue sort of over most of it, and the bottom bit's going to be covered up. I don't know if you remember, but from the photograph I showed at the beginning, I'll show it again actually if you like. I've got blue at the top there, and I've got the reflection of blue at the bottom. So I want blue sort of all over the whole thing, but quite a lot of it is going to be covered up. Okay. Now I'm just going to have a bit of fun. I'm just going to take some of that ink off with this. This is just a piece of card, a spatula. Just some expressive marks in the sky there. And hopefully they'll be sort of your eye will sort of interpret those as clouds maybe, or a bit of light. Okay, so first layer on. Just going to press that down gently. Now I've got a bit of scrap tissue paper here just to put over the top, just in case of rips. And I'm going to use a thing called a Baron, this is a Speedball Baron that's had many years of use, as you can see. And all this does is it just provides fairly even pressure. But you don't have to have one of these. You can just use your hands and fingers, to be perfectly honest. A spare roller sometimes works quite well. You just go over like that if you've got no ink on it. I mean, you can use a wooden spoon, but it's probably going to show the marks of the spoon a bit. It's not very even. Sometimes you might like that, so no problem. Okay. So one other reason that I'm using the Japanese paper actually, which I forgot to say, is that it kind of absorbs the ink or paint really well. So you can get away with quite a lot of wet layers, one on top of the other. Okay, right, now. Not sure if you can see that. You can see that a bit. These are the marks I made. So I took the ink off there, and that's how it's come out. And then we've got roller marks in there. I don't mind that personally. I quite like roller marks. And then the Japanese paper has kind of done this lovely thing at the bottom without me even trying, where it's just, I'll see if the camera can pick that up a bit more. It does look like water. It looks like reflected water. So that's really nice. So that's our first layer. So unlike with jelly plate printing, we don't have to let it wait to dry. We can then clean this off and go for the next colour. So, Lindsay's just saying in the chat, you can get a proper purple with a magenta biased red. Yes, you're absolutely right, actually, and I'm starting to realise that, Lindsay. I'm late to the party with magenta. Like cyan and magenta or ultramarine and magenta. Brilliant. Thank you, Lindsay. That's a really top tip, actually. Yeah, purple is probably the only thing that I find really difficult to get with a Prussian blue or even just ultramarine on its own. So magenta really helps, yeah. And Caroline's asking, do you use wet strength tissue or just ordinary? I actually just use ordinary, but that's because I use oil-based ink almost all the time. So it doesn't really matter, it's not getting wet as such. If I was to use water-based ink or paint, I would use wet strength tissue. Because basically it's not going to, normal tissue won't hold up very well to water-based things. But it prints pretty well, wet strength tissue. You get it, there's a company called Carnival. If you Google Carnival wet strength tissue, you will find that it comes up. It's usually the first one. And it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And you can just use tissue from the stationer's shop. It just won't be archival, that's all. Right, so I have just used there vegetable oil and rags to clean up. And that's it. What I haven't done, which I forgot to do, is just clean my roller. Should have done that as well. Just going to put a few drops of the veg oil on there. And then clean that with the rag as well. So this is kind of the downside of this way of working, is that you have to clean every colour off your plate before you carry on. But I quite like it. I quite like it as thinking time. I quite like it as just chill out time, where I don't have to make decisions or think too much. So, right, but we're ready to go with the next colour. So, next one I'm going to do is this sort of soft, pinky, orangey one, which I'm going to I think I'm going to sort of put it in the, I've got some oil on there, wait a minute. I don't want vegetable oil, just, okay, right. So, I'm going to put it sort of in the middle. And I might try and get some sort of roller marks. So it looks like reflections. Let's see. So what I really like these marks here that I made. So I don't want to cover those up too much. So I'm going to take some of this ink off, just with some kitchen towel, and hopefully this is going to be some nice soft marks. So this is kind of all about thinking in layers. So this is not the whole picture, obviously. This is just one part of the picture that is going to unfold, hopefully, as we keep going. And it's that sort of ability to think in layers and pick an image apart, really, that it comes with practice, really. It does come with practice. And for people that have just finished my hand printing happiness course, which was happening in sort of June and July, it took them quite a while to get into that headspace. But once they did, suddenly, everything sort of fell into place, and they started seeing different layers in all sorts of, you know, everywhere they went, in all the images they saw. Okay, let's have a go with that. Now, the other great thing about vaguely transparent paper, tissue in particular is really good for this, is that you can see through it. So you can place it where you need to place it. No need for registration marks, which is nice. I really dislike registration marks, just because I'm impatient, really. Okay, so hopefully we're getting some, just some really not very strong colours, not very strong tones at the moment, but just some really nice little drifts of colour. Some little mixtures of colour, so sort of soft marks here. So we're just building up layer on layer, and we're sort of thinking about what the next layer is going to be, what the next layer is going to do, how it's going to mix with the previous layer. Now, I was hoping to get some ghost prints from this, but I don't think I'm going to get anything from that. So I'm going to clean that one up. We'll probably get some ghost prints later on. And ghost prints, if you don't know, are where you take the sort of what's the ink that's left on your surface, and you take a much fainter print with it. And sometimes they're nicer and better than the print you actually tried to do. Jenny, you don't have to register. It's just that you're going to get an email about the discount and the replay if you register. But because you are here live, you'll see at the top I've pinned a message to the chat, and that is your discount link. So you can click on that now if you want, and that's, just keep that tab open. So you don't, anyone that's here, if you haven't registered, you don't necessarily have to. It's just that if you do, you'll get an email with all the links. But if you're here already, the links are at the top of the chat. And I will put them in again before we go as well. Okay. Right, Baggy Clan, what's the next one? Some grey clouds. Okay, so I mixed a nice grey here, a little bit darker, and I think what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to roll it out quite thinly and then just press onto the back of my paper, see if I can get some marks that way. I'm just going to put a little bit more. So essentially, I don't want to bring it down too much to basics, but essentially hand monoprinting is really just two things. It's making marks in your ink or making marks on the back of your paper. It's one or the other. But of course, within that, there's so many variables. There's so many different marks you can make. There's so many different things you can try together, or put one on top of the other, or whatever it might be. So I'm just going to leave that like that. I'm going to place my paper on. Is that too much ink? No, I'm going to go with it. Place my paper on. I've sort of got a kind of an idea for horizon line being about here ish, and again I'm going to use one of my spatulas, I think, and just push down onto the paper. Now wherever I'm pushing, I'm hoping it's going to pick up some of this nice soft grey colour, and I'm going to take a peek. Yeah, it is, and I'm just going to soften some of that with a finger as well. Fingertips are great, especially if you've got really thin paper. There we go. So, we haven't made a horizon line yet, but the horizon's going to be sort of here, I think. So we've got sky and we've got beach and sea here. So that's what's going to happen next. But essentially, we've got the basics of monoprint here. We've made marks into our ink, and we've got some lovely marks here, and we've pushed into our paper as well. Got some lovely soft clouds here as well. Okay, so we're racing through the baggy plan here, actually. Oh, actually, let's just have a go at doing a ghost print while we're... So there's quite a lot of ink left on this, because I've only taken off this area here. And I'm going to use some tissue paper to just take whatever's left. Tissue paper is great for ghost prints because it's just really thin, picks up absolutely everything. And you'll find if you do this after almost every colour, you'll build up a really good stash of collage papers very quickly. And that's generally what I use ghost prints for. I often use them as sheen collage when I'm doing dry point etchings, and sometimes I just use them as plain collage as well. So Michelle is asking, do you use a brush to leave marks on the plate? Do you know what? I don't, but that's kind of just my preference actually. You can do, certainly. That's the ghost print. That's actually rather nice, and that will make a beautiful little sky, I would have thought, in some collage or other. Or maybe even as part of another print. So that's a nice little ghost print. I like that. Yeah, using a brush. Yes, you can do. The only thing I find with it, especially when I'm teaching people, if it's the first thing I tell them to do, they start slapping on the paint and the ink like it's a painting. And it's too much. It's almost always too much. Because they want to paint, especially if they've been taught how to paint. They want to paint. Oh, I know what to do. I can paint this. And actually, you don't need that much ink or paint. You just don't. It's going to make your paper soggy. It's going to bog it down. If you want to put another colour on top, you're going to find that it kind of creates mud and slop, and it's just not that great. So certainly I don't tend to tell people to do that straight away if they're learning first off. But you can do it. And I think once you kind of got a feel for your inks and your papers and you sort of feel like, yeah, this could work, you can give it a go. And in fact, the last thing I'm going to do on this is what I call painterly printing, which is where I literally just put some ink on. I don't roll it out. And it's going to look a bit painty, basically like a painting. Hopefully, that's the plan. So it's totally possible. Probably just not the first thing I would do, that's all. Now I'm just going to make sure that my roller is, all the ink is off my roller. And the oil is as well, because I don't want loads of oil on everything. So this is a really spontaneous, lovely thing to do. However, you do probably want to just stay a little bit organised, just a tiny bit organised, because you can get oil and paint over everything otherwise, which isn't great. Okay. What's on my plan? Okay. Right, so it's to put a dark colour on now. So I'm going to use this. So this is going to, essentially it's going to create our horizon line actually. So this is the one time where I'm actually going to check where I want my horizon line. So I want it about here. So I'm going to have my dark beach around about, yeah. And the way I'm going to do this, I hope, is by masking out an area. So I'll show you that in a minute, which is another quite nice thing to do if you want very definite lines or a very definite form, something like that. So you can go quite drifts of colour, you can go quite soft, But if you want to do something a bit more definite, I tend to turn to masking out or stamps, which again, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a little stamp right at the end. Hopefully you'll see that. Now, this is not that flat, actually. I might use my nicer roller, see if that makes a difference. There we go. I'm going to put a little bit more on. As the layers build up on our paper, you'll find it's a little bit more difficult with each layer to get a sort of controllable, even amount of, well, print basically. And that's okay. That's just what happens when you, especially when you're doing wet on wet. But you just have to sort of bear that in mind. Another nice thing I quite like, sorry about my squeaky roller by the way, I quite like using the roller marks as, you can see there's some roller marks here as I'm rolling, I don't know if you can, but there are, especially for water. They kind of look like ripples. So I often just leave them in. I quite like using them. And in fact, I did a YouTube video fairly recently about mistakes in printmaking, and perhaps that you might want to make some mistakes, and one of them was this thing of roller marks, because they can look really nice, like I say, particularly seascapes and things like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I've pre-cut this mask out. This is just some scrap tissue paper. Hopefully you're going to see the composition as I place it on. So where I've placed this hopefully isn't going to print. It's only the dark bit either side. And I'll just show you again the photo that I'm working from is this one. Now I've exaggerated that shape in the foreground. I've actually quite exaggerated it so that it draws the eye in. But that's basically where this composition idea has come from. Okay. Let's give this a go. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm very quickly going to just get a little bit of kitchen towel and just, I'm not really one for tidying up, but I'm just going to tidy up this line here a little bit so we don't get any splurges. I actually love ragged edges. I love edges that have, you know, just been left, but sometimes, just sometimes, you want a nice straight edge. Okay, I'm folding my paper over at the horizon line that I want, and I'm placing it there. This paper doesn't really have what's called a memory, so you can sort of fold it a little bit and it won't stay forever. You can just unfold it and it'll go back to being flat, so it's quite nice like that. Another reason why I like it. Okay. I'm just using my fingers here. Fingers are actually better for this sometimes, because I don't know if you can see there, but look, my finger's getting right into the edge of that mask. Whereas I don't think a Baron or even a press would do that. In fact, I think I might just use my fingers and just see if I can get some nice marks like this. So I'm purposely doing an uneven burnish. Okay, I'm going to take a quick look and see if I like that. If I don't, I'm going to print it differently. Oh yeah, no, I like that. Yeah. Okay, and suddenly we have a composition and a picture and it's turned into something completely different. So yeah, so the previous layers have come through because I masked that out, and I've got this lovely soft horizon line where the roller kind of made those marks as well. so I'm pleased with that, and I'm going to take a ghost print of the plate. I've taken the mask off. And this might be quite an interesting ghost print actually, because this will probably have quite a bit of ink left on it. And we've got a question from Paula. Do you have to keep brayers separate for use with oil and acrylic, or can you use the same one for both? I mean, as long as you clean them, you can use the same ones for both. But just make sure if you're using them for acrylic, you do clean them, and you clean them straight away, and don't let any dry on them, because they're basically going to be ruined, I think, if you leave any acrylic on. Oil, it's a bit more forgiving, so you could use it, you could leave it overnight in your studio, probably still be fine to then just clean after that. You'd probably be okay. But yeah, it shouldn't be a problem as long as you're quite meticulous about your cleaning. Okay. So this is just the ghost print. This is just another type of a Baron, by the way. It's just a big piece of felt. That should be white, but it has been used for workshops, so it's all completely dry though, so it's not putting any colour onto that paper, which is good. Okay, right. Okay, pretty soft, pretty subtle, but again, that could work as a background for something, could start something off, could be part of a collage. So that's going to go on the collage pile. And let's clean this up. We're getting to kind of to the tail end actually of making this. Just goes to show you don't have to have tons of time. You know, you can just have a little play, a little session. In all honesty, if I was just doing this on my own, not doing it as a live stream, I probably would let things dry a little bit more. I might stop and let it dry at this point. But you can carry on. I mean, I'm going to, and it's going to get a bit more uncontrollable, and let's just go with it. So Lynn says, how long does it take for multiple layers of oil paint to dry, and how do you do that? Hang them up. I keep running out of space. Yeah, that is something to think about actually. Oil paint, particularly in winter, autumn and winter, can take quite a long time to dry. So at least a couple of days. If it's really damp and cold, it might take about a week. But yes, I hang them up. I just hang them from pegs or clips or something like that. Or you could get a print dryer especially made for the purpose. It's up to you. You don't necessarily need to put this stuff, certainly if you're using oil-based ink, you don't need to put this under heavy books or boards or anything. It shouldn't go too wrinkly, hopefully. But yeah, it's a matter of, the weather really. When it's really damp, it can be a bit difficult to dry them. But the good news is what I quite like, if it goes a bit wrong, you can actually manipulate, and I've done this before, you can manipulate the ink or the paint on the paper itself. So you could, even this might even work now. Yeah, I can actually take a little bit of that ink off with this because it's still wet. Yeah, so it is slightly manipulating it. It's slightly changing it. So it's a bit more forgiving. I find it a little bit more forgiving, the oil-based ink, even though it takes longer to dry. Okie doke. Next on the baggy plan was our Blue Horizon. So I'm slightly exaggerating this from the photo. It is quite a blue horizon in the photo, but it's not quite as blue as this. Right, so I only putting the ink out, that's too much actually. Let's take some of that off. I'm only putting the ink out on a very small area. And I'm going to then take even more of it off in the shape that I want. So I tend to just use a piece of kitchen towel or something for this bit. I mean, that's lovely actually as it is, isn't it? I'd love to print that, but I think I'm going to stick with the plan for the moment. So this is my sort of horizon line, the hills in the distance. The hills of North Wales, I guess. And I'm not doing these perfectly. And I'm leaving a little bit of the ink on because I do sometimes quite like that you can sort of see what your hand's done, basically, that sort of gesture mark, wipe mark. So I'll leave a little bit of ink on. And again, I just recently did a video actually on my channel about I think it's about how to create movement so that your pictures aren't too still. And actually this was one of the things I suggested, just leave just a few white marks, and it kind of shows where your hand's been and how you've made the mark, and it often brings a bit more movement to things. Now I'm going to use another mask to make this horizon completely straight along the bottom. So I'm going to put this completely straight piece of paper. This is just a little mask. So I've got a nice straight line at the bottom. That's the plan. Okay, and again, I'm going to do this thing where I sort of fold along my horizon line so that I know where it is, and I can hold it up to where I want it. Flip it over. Hopefully we got it in the right place. So this is, I mean, I've gone through this quite fast, but obviously Landscape Impressions, the course, is slower, more detailed, more step by step, and sort of goes through things like this where you have a plan. It's actually quite intentional. You want to do a picture of something in particular, but also improvising and playing around with things. So things like, actually, you know, maybe starting off with something like that, the ghost print, and then adding more on top of that, changing it completely, making unexpected artworks as well, which is also really fun. Pardon me, fun. Now I think I'm probably just going to do this with my finger. I don't think I'm just going to do a little check. Yeah, I think that's fine actually. Let me just get that in the camera view for you. Not sure if you can you see that very well? But you can see there's some really subtle marks there. Try and get that in the light for you. Subtle marks, but definite forms as well. Something to draw the eye. And the last but not least, I'm going to do a little sort of sunset thing here, which I will show you. How are we doing for time? We're sort of about 8 minutes to 6. So I was going to try and keep this to about an hour, but we might go over a little bit. Okay. So quick clean of my, actually, you know, that, I mean, that's good for collage as well. The little masking bits. Okay. So always, yeah, always just look at what you've got. Sometimes you can look at what you've got on your roller. If you've just rolled over something really interesting, you might have marks on your roller. Or even, I mean, like I could just do this now. This has just got some ink on. Ooh, bit of a squeaky one. But you know, that's just, even that by itself, it's quite a nice thing. You've got that very soft blend at the top. So there's always ways of making lovely marks, even if you're not making, you know, an actual picture, an actual landscape. If you're using water-based inks, like, obviously you can probably just put them under a tap if you've got a tap, you know, just wash them off that way. You can also use things like baby wipes as well, or if you've just got a sponge and a bowl of water, you can use that. Okay. Now then, I've got some little stamps here. Now all these are my circle stamps, and they're just little bits of craft foam. I don't know if you can see that, stuck to a piece of card. Just circles, that's all they are. And I often use them for suns or moons. I'm going to pop, so I use them, yeah, I just use them as stamps basically. I'm just trying to think what the I think I'm going to use the smaller one because this is quite a small picture. And all I'm going to do is dab, dab, dab some. I've just got got a kitchen towel, a little bit of the white paint on here, just plain white. And I'm just going to dab, 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 dab. And then push this in. Hope that's going to be enough. Let's try it. And I'm just literally pushing it in. And I'm quite a big fan of just like really simple, small homemade stamps. And again, I've probably got videos on this. I'm sure I have somewhere in the back catalogue. Okay, now I'm going to make that a little bit stronger, I think. This is what starts to happen because we've now got, how many layers have we got on that? 1, 2, 3, about 3 layers of ink on that. So this is the 4th layer of ink. So it starts to become just a little bit more difficult to kind of do all these things, but that's okay. Okay, so we've got 2 layers of the white stamp on there. That's actually looking more like a moon, isn't it? But I am going to try and make it look a little bit more like a sun by adding some orange. And this, I think it was Michelle, was it Michelle asking about this? Using a brush. Now, I don't tend to use a brush. Oh, thank you. I know, that's lovely. And Madeline, thank you. I don't tend to use a brush. I often just use literally my spatula. But if you like using brushes, use a brush for this sort of thing. I don't know why. I just don't like brushes as much. They look like brushes, perhaps. The mark looks like a brush mark. Whereas I'm just going to do a little sweep here until I like the look of it. So this is what I call painterly printing. I'm not sure I like that. It's hard to do this under pressure. Right, I'm going to leave it as that. And it's literally where I don't roll the ink out. I literally just place it on. And this is what some people call monoprinting. They will literally do a painting on a surface and then print it, like with all the colours, you know, painted on with brushes. You know, that's fine. It's just, I just find that, well, first of all, quite scary and also just not very flexible. But I don't tend to tell people to do this first off because it's a lot of ink on there. It's quite splodgy. It's quite splurgy. It can ruin a piece. Hopefully it won't. But it'd be really annoying, you know, when you're just starting out and you just want to make something nice. You might want to make something that works. You probably don't want a really splurgy mark. I'm going to risk it with this one. I'm going to put it over my... No, am I? Wait a minute. I really don't want to ruin this now. I'm going to take a little bit more of that off. There we go. And I'm going to put it over, or a little bit over my sun, I think, and hope that the sun comes through. If it doesn't, I'm going to put it back in. So if I put that there, let's try that. And I'm very lightly pressing down here because there's a lot of ink on. You know, it's like a painting, this basically. But just using the tip of my finger, I'm not even really applying much pressure. And I'm going to take a peek. Hey, yeah. Okay, phew. That worked, I think. So, I think I'm gonna put that white sun back in. I'm gonna add one more go at it. And then I think we might be done. Gonna stamp that in again. It's not gonna show brilliantly well, but it'll, yeah, there we go. It's giving it a bit of something. So let me think, if I can show you this slightly better. I don't know if I can. I hope you can see that. If I bring it up to the light a little bit more. But that's certainly that top bit. I'm really enjoying those marks and the layering up. And you can't really tell how it was made actually at this point. Certainly that top bit anyway. And then we've got these sort of reflections going on down here. And the Japanese paper has done its thing because it's just, I didn't do any of that really. I just rolled some ink out and the paper's just made it go all lovely and soft and reflection-y. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And that's all just in one go. That's all wet on wet. Greatly helped by the Japanese paper, which always works really nicely wet on wet actually. And it's just lovely paper, full stop. So, okay, I am going to swap my cameras back again. You give me a moment. Hello, right, back again. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you can see, I mean, obviously I've been doing this for quite a few years, so I kind of know what marks are going to kind of look like when they get printed. But nonetheless, I hope it's shown you that it can be really simple to print. You know, you don't need to, it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. And this Landscape Impressions, the course, is a really nice way actually to get into printmaking. You know, just the whole mindset of it, the constraints of it, the joys of it, and hopefully come out the other end with at least one, if not more, you know, finished pieces of art that you like, you know, artwork on paper that you really like. So it's, like I say, it's only going to be on sale for the next 3 days. If you've registered for this, you're going to get the link, and it's also pinned to the top of the chat here as well. If you haven't registered and you're just here by chance, then go to my website. There's a red graphic on the front page, and you can register on there as well. So any which way, you'll get the link. If you're here live or you've registered, you're going to get the link, and you can register afterwards as well. That's fine. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really nice course. Obviously, it's basically what I've just done tonight, but it's much slower. It's more involved. It's more detailed. You can print at your pace, and it's all videos. There's no live element, so you can just replay, rewatch, go back. You've got lifetime access, so you can go back anytime you like. And I just think it's a really nice thing. If you're into painting, it's a nice thing. It can bring you into painterly printing. If you're into sort of quite printing with a press or a jelly plate, is a nice thing as well, because it sort of brings you into, I think, quite, you know, spontaneous, gestural, expressive printing without all the pre-planning and without all the, you know, the complex processes, I suppose. So it's going to be £67 for the next 3 days. You'll get the link, either look at the chat or on your email. It won't be on offer again for a long time. I can guarantee that. So this is probably your only chance to, if you're thinking about it, you probably want to get it now. But I hope you really enjoyed that. I did. I really enjoyed it. I love just playing, basically. And I'm so glad that you joined me for it as well. If you had to go early, that's fine, or you want to watch again, then you're going to get, especially if you registered, you're going to get the link to the replay anyway. So that's good. Right, we're on 3 minutes past 6, so I've done pretty well with the timing, actually. So I hope that inspired you at the very least, and hopefully I will see you at some point or hear from you. I certainly recognise quite a few of the names coming up in the chat, so it's really nice to have you along. And I will see you when I see you.